Hi everyone, back again, hopefully to finish this page off now. I think this is part 5 and it's the Promenade page from Around the World by RJ Hampson. I've hurried up the drying process here with a hairdryer and it's made the page super crinkly wrinkly. I don't own a heat tool for drying things, but a heat tool would have dried that off, and I believe it doesn't go quite so wrinkly with the heat tool because it works in a slightly different way. But once again, I am okay with that because that's all I have, and I just wanted to speed that up so that I could get this page finished and be done with it basically. So I've got a couple of Sakura Jelly Roll metallic pens here. I wasn't sure whether I wanted gold or silver. I'm thinking that Mr. Fogarty's cane walking stick here is going to have silver at the top of it. So silver there and silver just at the tip. I think I will have silver there for the bottom of the lead on Mr. Cricket or Grasshopper. I think perhaps a little silver button on the purse, and that will be sufficient for that. I don't use a lot of metallics usually. I tend to just sort of do those little touches, which is nice when you're looking at the page in real life, but when you try to get a photograph of that, it doesn't really show up too well. But that's why I won't really sort of go to too much trouble with these things, because once I close the book and put it away and it's done, I'm not really likely to look at it much again. I don't see the point in spending a lot of money on things that don't really add value for me personally, so that's why I have steered clear of a lot of different extra things that you can put onto a finished page. And I'm going to use the coloured pencils to come back in and fix a few things up. I do need to, sorry for moving away there, I do need to just sort of touch up this bit that bled out when I did the water on the sea behind her. And I will just touch up her little jacket there as well. I kind of like how the pink has bled into the little muff there, or cuff. So I'll pick that up and show you at the end all the details, but that's something that I'll leave in there as a happy accident. And I liked the fact that the lapel was that little bit darker. I know I put the white pencil on there already, but just those bits around there. I'll just put a little bit extra in the shadows, the creases of her clothing. Okay. And I think that that's sufficient there. That little walking stick's probably like one of the few things that I think should probably have black on it. So I'm going to do that now before I forget, because quite often my pages have some little aspect of them like that which is tiny, that I've forgotten to go back and put on there. So I don't really want any extra black anywhere, maybe just a little touch in that deepest shadow there for now. And I wanted a slightly deeper colour here so that his shoes don't blend into the deck too much. So I'm going to use burnt ochre. And I'll just put a little bit of that on there in the areas that suggest they might be shadowed, or for example along here, so that he just doesn't look like he's disappearing into the boards of the deck there. And this colour would work in here. Just to sort of tease out those little sort of shaded bits. A little bit on there. A little bit on the rope. That grey that I put on there initially and then went over it with the camel colour has just about made the grey disappear. So that's a little bit of that to and fro that I was talking about, that you do something and you have to sort of come back and just reinstate some of it again. You lose it along the way. Enough of that colour. I'm going to use slightly deeper shade of this under the collar there, hopefully. I've got, just give that a quick sharpen. This colour is called Goldenrod, and I'm just going to put a little bit in. Some of this might not be showing up very well on the camera for the video's sake, but when I take a photograph of it later, hopefully, you know, on the closer photograph, it will actually make a bit of a difference. It doesn't make a huge difference even in real life. Like, I'm looking at it and thinking it's not making a huge difference, but it is making a little bit. And where this paper has been torn up with the nib of the connector pen, as I go over it with the pencil, it's just smoothing that out a little bit and taking off those little rough bits of paper, the little pilled areas, and smoothing it out again. So, you know, that's sort of handy. Okay. Quite happy with the way this thing came out. That turned out pretty well. I'm thinking on here with this piece of wood, it needs a slightly cooler shade of brown rather than a warm brown. So I'm going to go for iron oxide brown. And where that colour ran there, it's just helping that to blend in and look like it should be part of it. Now, it would have been hard to do this with the connector pens because all the browns in the connector pens are either very orange, very yellow, sort of orange base, or they're really dark, and that would have been just way too dark on there. I'm going to put some little suggestions of this in here. Like there's, you know, knots in the wood and imperfections in the wood. And RJ has added some little shapes there and some lines, and you can kind of exploit that a little bit. Okay. I still don't really know what this thing is along here. I haven't made my mind up what that is. Sometimes it'd be nice to have a hotline to the artist and just say, you know, excuse me, but what is that? How should I colour it? I'm not quite sure. So sometimes when wood gets old, it has some lighter areas and some bleached areas, and of course seawater would leave some lighter areas. So I'm actually going to see whether this light grey, does that do anything? A little bit. It's kind of taken the yellowness out of it, I suppose, making it look a little bit like it's bleached. And I'm also going to use a bit of a darker brown now, Van Dyke brown. A little bit there under his little tummy there, just so that we can see where the edge of him ends. A little bit of that maybe in here. Just brings back that little extra suggestion of a bit of grunge and grimy dirtiness. It's still very white in that section there, so I'm really wanting that to look aged and not perfect, so we're going to knock that back a little bit. Now this colour here is quite handy for that. I don't know what I'm going to do when this one runs out. This was the Faber-Castell Classic colour range, which is the sort of children's budget range. So just really gently knock back the white so that it's not quite so vibrant. And I like how that's gone lighter there where the colour bled out of it, so we'll leave that. But what we do need to do is, let's have a look. I think we'll use the warm grey here. This is 50% warm grey. Just need to have that so that it looks like it's pushed back behind the rail and not part of the rail. A little bit more back onto there where that all bled out, but I'm leaving that one. And there's no real rhyme or reason to why I'm leaving that one, but I just think it looks good. I like it. And got the burnt umber here again. I'm just going to do some colour back there because the colour did bleed out of that. It's bled into the water, but I'm leaving that as well because kind of suggestive that it was a watercolour, and I'm okay with that little imperfection. Again, we're just going to now suggest slightly that is not flat and it's grimy and grubby and a bit aged. It's not a brand new piece of rope. Sometimes the artist gives you little hints by putting some lines or marks in where some shading could be well placed. And once again though, you know, that isn't the focus, so I'm not going to be too perfect with that. A little bit more on there to suggest that it's not a perfectly coloured piece of wood. I'll go back and use the warm grey just to make that little bit there recede. And this is 20% warm grey. I'm just going to put a bit of shadow in there so that the clock face isn't completely white, and it's sort of suggesting that this little section here might be a little bit raised. And with that same grey, I'm just going to put some scribble in there just to sort of firm that up. It's dried really, really pale. And we'll just do a little bit of work on her hat just to sort of firm that up. Let's have a look. Sorry, I feel like I'm doing a lot of again. I think we'll go back to the goldenrod. I think I'm just happy to make that suggestion here that it may be a straw hat. And then the leaf here is still looking a weird green. So I'm actually going to use, this is a Faber-Castell pencil, a Polychromos Chrome Oxide Green. And just sort of take that. It's a really weird colour. It's almost got that look of a fluorescent highlighter pen about it. It's weird. And it's just going to take the edge off of that because that, oh, you know, that's just looking a little bit too obvious. So that helps take that out. I'm just going to shade her from her hat there. A little bit here, a little bit on her eyelids, a little bit there for Mr. Fogarty because his hat might actually be casting a bit of a shadow there, but not a huge one. A little bit there again from where his shirt is. There are some really faint lines that RJ has drawn in there, so that's why I'm sort of doing that in that area. And then just to sort of suggest that this bit that goes around his eyeball, it's a little bit rounded, same in there. Just come back to there. Now I did forget to pick up my acrylic paint pen and bring it down here with me because I really could do with using that on his cuff where I had it bleed over there. And I'm actually going to bring that little bit of green down here. Not because I think there would be green there, but again, what it does is it's, you know, it's that sort of mirroring. And I guess it could be a bit sort of slimy and a bit of algae or something, I don't know. Can't say I've actually ever been on a ship. What that is doing, it's sort of, I don't know why, I can't really explain why the real reasons for these things are, but it's interacting with that colour and it's looking quite good for there too. And it could even sort of work there because it, you know, this is just such a weird colour. It's green, but it's not green. It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? But there's some colours when you use them, it suggests it takes on aspects of the other colours that are around it. I think that's probably the best way I can try and explain that. Now, I don't know why I left that white. It looks too weird, so that's going to have a... I'll do a dark brown because it can either suggest that it's the rope going through there or it's just part of the shadow. Yeah, that's better. And I'm thinking that looks a bit bland and boring, so I'm going to put a bit of extra. Sorry, I feel like I'm talking to myself. Bit of extra colour in there. I'm going to leave that white in there because sometimes when a ship or boat is in the distance and there's sunlight that hits it, it does tend to sort of stand out as being quite white, so that can stay. I'm going to use the white Prismacolor now to just play around here with the slightly whiter bits and highlight them. Now I'm using a horizontal sort of action because the sea would be, you know, even if there was waves, they're going to be horizontal. So there's no point going up and down like that because the sea wouldn't look like that. And I'm still not 100% happy with the colour of this, but I'm really not sure how to fix that up. So what is this colour? This colour is Clay Rose. I don't think I've really used that much. Not really doing much. What I'm thinking though is, you know, some fabrics that have a slightly reflective quality about them, or shiny quality about them, start to sort of reflect or pick up colours from around it. So that could be what that's doing. And maybe just a little shadow around there. Getting really close to the end now. I'm going to use Cobalt Violet for that, just to actually make it look like it's an intentional shadow. And because I've introduced that there, I should probably put some touch in other shadows as well, because that would just look really bizarre if that's the only one shadow in the whole thing. And this is why, you know, once you get started, fiddling could take over and go for hours, because once you start somewhere, then you think, oh, I'll just put a bit here and I'll just put a bit there, and suddenly you've wasted, I don't know how long. So I'm sort of suggesting that the sun is coming, you know, from above them down, and that's why there's such deep shadows. probably put a lot more in, but for the purposes of this video, I'm getting to the point now where I think if I just sort of keep messing with it, it's just for the hell of it rather than actually achieving an awful lot. That just looks like it needs to go behind. And this thing, I think I'm just going to leave that white. I'm thinking, you know, when the side of the ship comes up and it's, you know, a bit of a lip or a ledge so that things don't go rolling off the side of the deck. That's my story anyway. That's what I'm calling it. And I'm sort of feeling like that could be getting close to the point, unless I've missed something really obvious, and I could well have, because I do that sometimes. The only maybe other thing, here I go again, thinking a slightly deeper red, just to sort of go on the outer edges there, just to sort of reinforce that the red bits are round as well. It's not some weird thing that's just stuck on the white round life buoy. That kind of ties those together then. And maybe a little bit. So I think that's really very close to where I'd leave it. So I just had a little problem there. I thought that the camera had stopped recording and it hadn't, so apologise for that. So I'm pretty happy now that this is complete, and I just thought that I would lift this up to the camera because I don't know how to zoom in or anything yet, but that's to show you just some of these areas where the bleeding happened. I'm leaving those. I like the little touches of colour from her dress that have come out into the railing, and those watermarks are going to stay. I'm quite happy to leave those because I just feel it reinforces that watercolour look that I like. There's a little bit of the texture and the colours that were in the wood. And you can see some of that area on the, I don't know what this thing actually is, but the pipe there that I attempted to make look rusty and old. And there's also a little bit there that water has bled from the part describing the sea. And I'm going to leave that little watermark in Mr. Fogarty's jacket as well. And that's how the bleeding ended up on the life buoy. But if you remember, I actually did put that lighter colour into there and some of those other colours into there anyway, just to sort of lead the eye around a little bit. And I have since put a little bit of acrylic white paint pen on that little bit of sleeve there. So yeah, that's the completed page. I'm satisfied that that's done, and I've uploaded some photographs to Instagram. So thank you for watching and listening. I do hope that some of my rambling there has made some sense and is helpful if you're looking for different ways of using your water media. And yeah, thanks again. So I might see you in another video soon. Thank you. Bye.